I was a zone leader at the time, and we were on splits. The American was with my Brazilian companion in their area, and there was a Guatemalan, Elder Donis, that was he was with me in my area. And we were walking around, we ate lunch, we were going through everywhere, and it was Christmas Eve that day. And we were knocking doors and teaching lessons, typical missionary stuff. And when he was like, Elder, I don't feel very good. I'm like, oh, well, like, how bad is it? He's like, I'm all right. We went a little longer, and he's like, Elder, my stomach is, like, not good. And I was like, oh, shoot. So we called the mission vice president, Sister Fusco, and told her about it, and he had some previous health things where he had to get it taken care of. So we went to, it was like it's called a Posto de Saúde. It's like a little outpost for emergency health matters. So that's where we went, and the wait at those places is ridiculously long. It takes super long to get attended, and I wasn't allowed in there with him. So I was a little hesitant about that, but I was like, okay, he's got to go in, that's fine. So we checked him in and put him in line to wait or sit down in there, and I had to wait outside where there's some benches hanging out, and I was like, okay, I'll wait outside. And so I was waiting out there, and we were there for hours and hours and hours. About an hour in, I was like, well, if I'm going to sit here, I'm going to be productive, and I'm going to read my scriptures. And I was like, it's Christmas Eve, I'm going to read about the birth of Christ. So I opened up Luke and started reading about the birth of Christ and the wise men and everything, and I was like, that was the year that the He's the Gift initiative was released by the church, and we were encouraged to share that message and had the little cards. Anyone that served at that time knows those little cards that we had to give out. But so I had this super strong urge to, like, talk to people about this and tell them that Christ is the gift that God gave us. So I looked up, and I noticed 3 or 4 people kind of like sitting around me, and I've never been this, like, outgoing in my life, but I just, like, look at the person. I was like, hey, do you know the story of Christ's birth? And they kind of looked up at me like, what? And I was like, do you know the story of how Christ was born? And they were like, well, not really. And I was like, oh, well, cool. Would you like me to tell you about it? And they were like, yeah, sure. It's Christmas Eve. So I was like, right on. And I started explaining, and I was so brash when I was in the mission. It's kind of crazy. I think it's the mantle. But as I explained about Christ, about the inception of Christ, like when Mary found out that she was going to have Christ and the process that they went through in having him and the wise men coming and everything, I noticed a couple people around us were, like, looking up and kind of looking, and I'd stop the story and be like, hey, come over here, we're going to talk about Christ's birth. And I was like, I'd always bring them back, and then I'd summarize and keep going. And while I taught people about Christ being born and the miracle that it was and what it really meant for us, I got this super strong confirmation. I'd like to say the Spirit descended on me that Christ really is the Son of God, and that he was sent to this earth for a mission. The mission to save us and to atone for our sins. And that is what I shared with those people at the very end of that conversation. And I don't think there are very few times I've felt the Spirit that powerful. So at the end, I said, okay, guys, I have 3 of these. He is the gift cards for each of you, and I want you guys to go on, look at this, and then give out these cards to other people so that they can feel the same thing we're feeling here. And they said, yeah, and like I could tell there was a difference for them. I never saw those people again. But that Christmas Eve, I knew that I had made a difference in someone's life. And I don't know if another missionary taught them, or if they found a member, or if they still have yet to have that opportunity. But, like, I know that they were affected and that they were closer to Christ because I was able to open my mouth and preach about him on Christmas Eve. So don't let those moments that the Spirit is prompting you to pass, especially on days like Christmas Eve. because that was the best Christmas experience I've ever had.